Hello, Dr. Lena Rodriguez, coming to you from the land down under. And look at the jacket. Yes, it's winter here. Can you see it? It's a crew jacket from True Blood. Hands up if you got into True Blood when it was on. Fabulous, loved it. Thanks to Dave from Moonride. So thank you very much, Dave. Love it. Now, leading off today, you have this debacle with the Social Security, the Special Secret Service texts that they lost. The dog ate my subpoena. We get, now the dog ran off with all the messages. Now, I'm sorry. I thought on the 7th of January, all those communications would have been secured. Why take a year and a half to ask for them? Are they mad? Are they truly that mad? They'd leave it a year and a half to ask for these things. Another issue with that. Let me have my role. First of all, texts, they're mad about getting the texts and other communications. They shouldn't have been using their phones. Why weren't they using their proper radios or whatever the updated version is? That's weird in itself. It means they were using their phones. How could this have happened? And then the Secret Service going, we were migrating data and all of that crap that no one believes for 1 second. But frankly, I think the problem started a year and a half earlier. Fortunately, you'd have to believe in the modern world, and I could be wrong, but it's very hard to actually delete things. So it's going to cost millions more dollars to have the nerds sit in basements and track it down. They're supposed to have it in by Tuesday. I mean, everything about this is just pointing to the gross dysfunction of American government. No one's governing. It's just mind-boggling. Now, lots of questions from you guys. We've got Desantis going to Utah. Why is Desantis going to Utah? Florida to Utah. Why? No, I won't go there. Shut up, Lena. Don't be rude. Okay, but he is. And we know this is the head-to-head to watch in the next few months is DeSantis and Yeti butting heads. Talk about antlers at sunset. That noise. Sorry, we've got a Labrador as big as a sea lion and she's eating something loudly. So I want to know what that Utah trip's about. Let's have a look. Santa's off to Utah. Could be on a fool's errand. Oh. That's weird. All right. Now, well, he's after money. It would, I think, it's a fundraising endeavour. There's the money here, the beginnings of money for his presidential run. God help us all, But why Utah? There's something about, I think it's other people are coming from other places to meet him in Utah. I get a sort of grimy subterfuge here. This is my normally best of America card. But here's Biden. And so I'm thinking he's meeting other people. He's not just there to shake hands with Mitt Romney, right? He's not there to convert to Mormonism. He's not there for any of the obvious reasons. It's to meet with other people, I think, about money. Now, I said flippantly at the beginning, it's a fool's errand. Yes and no. I think they're using Utah as a cover. We'll watch this unfold. He's going at the end of the month. I'll be interested who else ended up at a meeting in Utah. Okay. New beginnings. This is him launching himself. He's feeling the waters for his run. Through these conversations he's going to have there, he's not going to be absolutely thrilled by the response he gets. So I think this is part of the GOP nightmare, is Trump running. And Desantis, there'd be those who'd want Desantis because he doesn't look as mad, but he is as awful. So I think what he gets is lukewarm feedback. And he wants more. He wants them to fight over him. You know what I mean? So let's look. We all know the Yeti's going to announce he's running, and then he can keep getting his besotted fans to send him their pension money, which he will spend with gay abandon. If they want to keep doing it, what can you say? You know. So let's look. Trump, when will he run? If we can get an idea of when will he run. It will also, well, he thinks and probably will offer him some protection if he's an active candidate. Let's see, Trump and announcing. Yeah, there he is. Well, I think he's trying to outrun justice. It's crystal clear, really. Once he runs, he can get PAC money, even if they're not as mad about him as they were. He'll get PAC money. He'll get donations from his cult. The idea is to move quickly to keep ahead of justice, which is shining a light and beaming the sun on his, this is my card for money laundering as much as anything. I think he wants it to help him with New York too, because he knows that the unfortunate week that the family had with the mother passing, etc., can only stave it off. It doesn't kill it. So he's hoping that this candidate thing, even though one's federal and one's state, will protect him from his money dealings and promote income for him, presumably for his vet bills. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. So he will run. I think he'll run soon. And no one should be surprised by that. And as you know, my fantasy is that he manages to do some damage to Desantis as he flails about in his Yeti-like fashion. Okay. Now, Thursday, American time, Matthew Pottinger from the National Security Council is going to testify, plus Sarah Matthews. I think she was a deputy communications person or something. Now, the National Security Council, what do they do? Does anyone know? Does anyone have proper information? What does the National Security Council do? So I'm going to ask about him. Matthew Pottinger, will he have some juicy testimony? They've kept him in the mix till now. There must be something. What's he going to talk about? The National Security Council. What's that about? What's his name? Matthew Pottinger. Let's have a look here at this guy. What has he got to say? Theft. All right. He has some inside information about something being stolen. There's so many things being stolen. The magician. Just give me a moment to process this. 39, Page of Swords. Okay. Look, in the center, this is something about the big lie, the threat to the election and how it was all put into play. And as more and more people said to the Yeti, you are mad, this is grossly illegal, you can't do it, you can't do it. Fewer and fewer people were left till you were only left with the lawyers who themselves are certifiable. You know, they couldn't get a job now if you advertised in a Cheetos packet, you know. So we got left with the Eastman, Sidney Powell and Giuliani. But he's got some major thing to contribute about that. Now, he also will talk, I think, about the planning for how to make that happen. The magician representing producing the impossible, making gold out of lead, etc., the bunny out of the hat, trying to make the impossible happen. Now, underneath that, this was a younger person. This might be Pottinger himself, because I don't know if he didn't want to testify and had to be bulldozed, or whether he had a moment, maybe pushed by a mature woman and representing the best things of the American dream. I think there's a tension in his world, let's put it that way, between the information he's been sitting on, and he now wants to tell the story in a way he didn't want to before. And he's being supported by this woman. It could be his mum, could be a sister, could be any woman who has had influence over him in a deep way, right? So Pottinger's got something to say that will fill in some blanks. Now, Rachel Maddow had a segment on her show where there was a leaked memo from the DOJ. They're not leaking much, so it's a big deal in itself. And this memo was from Merrick Garland in May, 8 weeks ago. Bear with me in case you've missed this aspect of the story. So back in 2020, AG Barr, bent as a fishhook, corrupt to the back teeth, took it upon himself to put in a new clause or provision in the legal sort of, not the Constitution, but in the statute of things, saying that no candidate for president can be investigated or an investigation even be started about a person who is going to be a candidate without it being signed off by the AG at the time, meaning him, Barr, meaning candidate Yeti, right? So he put it in there. Now, I'm not entirely happy about that. I don't know how you feel, particularly Americans. If he could unilaterally put it in, why didn't Garland pull it out or rewrite it or do something? Anyway, he didn't. And Garland sent this memo 8 weeks ago to all the staff at the DOJ saying this provision still stands. If someone is a candidate for the presidency, there can't be an investigation. Ooh, yuck. I think Rachel Maddow looked a bit green around the gills as well when she was looking at it. So not entirely happy about that. So let's have a little look. Let's have a little look. Will it impact anything or everything or what? Garland memo. The AG has to sign off before an investigation gets underway. Is he covering his ass because he hasn't signed off before the whole hearing started? Not just the public hearings, the whole inquiry. Is this ass covering for Merrick Garland or not, or what? I'm not mad about this development, I have to say, intrepid viewers. What's it about? Ooh. See if we can throw any light on this. Oh, the USA. Well, okay, centre stage, the Chariot. As we know, things are moving at a breakneck speed, right? The obstacle, as always, is the burden of proof. But we know the Dems have done a brilliant job in making a logical and plausible and provable case. But this can be a real boon, or it can be fool's gold. I'm not entirely sure which way this card sits. So things are happening quickly. There is this Ace of Pentacles underlying it as an anchor, if you like. The energy over the issue, I'm very pleased to report, is the beautiful star card here with the, you know, the ultimate of the American dream and what America should represent, even if it's strayed off the path quite a long way and is actually lost in the wilderness. This card's still important symbolically. So the Nine of Cups. So I think there's a softness to this man that I'm not quite happy with. I wouldn't describe Merrick Garland as a smug merchant. I think he's the opposite of that. He's a geek type for his age group. But you know what? It's like, I'm not entirely happy with this as an outcome card either, I have to say. So I think, to sum it up, if that's all been a bit garbled, this is still the card on top, that America and its pillars of what it represents will hold, but they're certainly being challenged by the Yeti. And I think these two stories come together because Trump is obviously on the brink of announcing his run. Garland is feeling he could be under more pressure, and he is, and he should feel it, but he's still held in a bit by this energy. Not fantastic, I have to say. Surely they've done enough to have done his work for him. I mean, he has hundreds of prosecutors at his call. What is wrong, really? What is wrong? Okay, now, Abbott. I had a lot of questions about Abbott in Texas. He's used to his Texas being a certain way. And you know what? Texas is a much more interesting state than the one he grew up in. Now, look at the man in terms of, someone described him as a threat to public safety, and it's true. The number of preventable COVID deaths, the number of shootings because he won't back the most fundamental reforms, right? The grid going down, people freezing to death, people dying of heat stroke. He's just not doing the job. He's just not doing the job. He has not been to any of those Uvalde funerals. Can you believe? And how those parents have been treated is appalling. So let's look at Abbott. Let's hope this is adding up. Oh, please. Please, Texas. Please amaze us all. Texas, Abbott. How's he travelling in the voters' minds? Yeah. So, women. Okay. Now here we have a situation that I'm much happier about. You've got the sun shining. Well, yes, it's summer, but the sun is shining. I was talking about all the ways he has killed people in Texas. You know, it's as simple as that. So this is being illuminated as an issue for people, and young people and women have some surprise news for him that emotionally, this is the card of a lot of emotion. This is tears being shed as well. This can be a very happy card, but also tears being shed over what he has allowed to happen on his watch. So if the youth turn out, if women voters turn out, it's not to say there aren't hardcore GOP MAGA women. We know some of you are related to them. But this is important for the changing demographics. And here she's in red and blue. It's going purple. So look, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. All right, now let me just check my notes here. Oh yeah. Now Putin is in Iran meeting with the Ayatollah in Iran and Erdogan from Turkey, three of the world's autocrats, these authoritarian guys, together in a room. Ooh. So we're going to have a look at that. But before, a viewer asked me about M.I.A. Remember her? Now, for those who don't remember the name, M.I.A, must be 2-3 years ago now even, I did a few videos on her. Now, she was a Russian agent who was sent entertainment purposes only YouTube, except this was demonstrated by investigative journalists and proved. So she was a Russian operative who operated as a honeypot, as they call them in the spy industry, and it was her job to infiltrate the NRA, which she did, and there's proof of all that, and to pluck off certain GOP congressmen, including one, she ended up being the live-in girlfriend. I mean, the things people do for their countries. Ooh. Anyway, she did. So let's have a look. For some reason, Maria Buttina's sort of floating in the ether again. I think she's been back in Russia for some time. But don't forget, she was very clever and very good at what she did. She was in the States maybe 6 or 8 years, posing, I think, as a postgraduate student. She was meeting young GOP types. She worked her way up the chain. She was going to serious gala events. And it was her job to report back about the GOP to Russia. So I'm using the Russian cards. Oh, and then we have to talk about Refit, who could be the first to be labelled a domestic terrorist in this context. I forgot that one. We'll come back. We're now looking at Maria Butina. Yes, here we have. Now this is interesting to me. So this is, in this deck, the 12 chairs deck, this guy he just looks like a normal guy, right? And I think this was her job. See the cat? It was her job to just get into the domestic world of these GOP guys. And she traveled around to do that. I think she might have been a friend of Don Jr.'s or something too. She got everywhere, right? She traveled a lot to get information that could be used not against them as informants, but against America. So to get information that could be exposed. So she, I think that's her wielding the razor over the guy's head, because she would have taken some happy snaps, which is them. Right. Now, this is with swords in this deck. It's all very weird. I think this is her reporting back under the guise of having dinners with Putin or Lavrov. I think she was actually reporting to Lavrov. Remember him? And that's her reporting back. This is all a game of chess. So it was her job to find out exactly how Russian money could be effectively used and exploited through the NRA and the GOP, and she was a key chess player. So let's not forget her name, Maria Butina. Now, I'm going to have a quick look at this meeting in Iran, and then I've got to double back to that other juicy bit of domestic news. Okay, so this is Iran, Turkey, and Russia. It's Putin, the Ayatollah, and Erdogan. Ayatollah. What are they talking about? Oh my God. Well, this is interesting. Now, one viewer did write to me and say she saw a picture of Putin getting off the plane, and she said, was it really Putin going to this meeting in Iran? And I had a good look at the images. I think it was Putin, but I think his face looks a bit different because he's probably on steroid medication and stuff. So he does look slightly different, but I think it's him. Now, this is the meeting itself, the snipping of ribbons, you know, we're three massively powerful, fabulous men type, the setting of the meeting, if you like. The pen being mightier than the sword, I think this is an indication of Turkey and Iran not being massively happy with Putin about Ukraine. It's like, why did you do this? And now we have to bail you out and things like that. They're not entirely enthralled with Putin, I think, but they're coming to an agreement. They're going to sign some sort of agreement that we may or may not ever see. There's unfinished business in terms of how do you divvy up the world? When you're a major player, how do you decide which countries are going to be allowed to trade with who and which countries are doing what and all of that? It's unfinished business because between them, they control a lot of territory. Now, this is a funny card because this is the King of Wands in the 12 decks. This is a street sweeper, but he's wearing the king's glasses. And so the meaning of this is spying, basically. So I think they are going to send spies in the form who are going to report to them, that the war's going to go underground, back into spycraft, right, of how these three countries will move. And China is also their ally, more so than the ally of the West. India is sitting firmly with a foot in each camp too. So they control a lot of geopolitical space. But this to me is deep spine, industrial spine. Okay. Now, I promised you, what is his name? Refit. Now, apparently it's the first, whatever he did on January 6th is being actually labelled domestic terrorism, and he's the first one. The DOJ, finally in action by the DOJ, we need to all sit down and take a breath and a Hail Mary, because they've actually asked for something, which is to, I think it's called, when you increase the sentences that are set for any particular crime, it's called sentence enhancement, and they've asked for the sentences to be raised. Interesting. And further in that article, and guys, you can help me work this out, apparently there isn't an actual legal thing called domestic terrorism. You know how everyone takes the pledge, you know, to protect America from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and the lay public sort of assumes that's what it is. But something like Charlottesville and driving cars into people and things like that, I thought they were called domestic terrorism, but apparently no, that's what, say, the media will say, this is an act of domestic terrorism, and they're right. But apparently there isn't an actual statute to deal with it. Is that right or not? Please let me know. You guys are so good at this research, so let me know. But in any event, now the Supreme Court, that's quite happy to let women suffer and die from unmedicated ectopic pregnancies and everything else, love the death sentence, they love everything, but will these sentences be increased as the sentencing for these guys goes on board? Will these sentences be increased? Starting with Refit, will they be increased? Because maybe there is domestic terrorism, but it's 5 years or something. Let's have a look. Is it going to go up? Not really. I think they should have started this a year ago too. Moving from choppy waters into smooth. Moving, at least they're moving. It's being discussed, strategizing here. There's been this sort of, it's probably not Garland, but he'd have to have signed off on it. But someone or a group of people in the DOJ really want this to happen. They're going, this is stupid, let's go, let's go. It's the only way you're going to stop these guys is doing this. So Knights are action. We have the DOJ people really pushing for it, but then the very next card is the knight that stops and doesn't go anywhere. Then we've got the card of just holding on. So not seeing it, I have to say, not seeing it. Now, before I go, your Friday night US, I hope I'm right about this, on Becca's channel. She is House of Lenormand, that's L-E, and then Normand, N-O-R-M-A-N-D. On Friday night, we're doing a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood. So please come along. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, your Friday night. but check the channels, check Laurie Way of Positive Change too, in case I've got the channel wrong. But I think it's on Becca's channel, Friday night from 7 o'clock. We'll probably go a good few hours. And if you can't afford to donate, don't worry, you can still turn up and support. We'd love to have you there. So it's a really good cause. So guys, I'll see you then. And in the meantime, you look after yourselves. Look after yourselves really good. Bye, guys. Ciao.